What is up YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and in this video we're going to feature nothing but the worthy in PvP action. But before we begin, I do have a special thank you for Agent Nadem. So let's hear it for the Agent of the Hour. Now let's go ahead and get started with the much anticipated PvP action. In this first matchup, this is slightly older footage because something interesting did happen with Null. Fortunately, he is up second, so it won't take long to show you exactly what I mean. After using You're Not Worthy, once we mouse over the enemies, you're going to see that it was a debuff, and also the tooltip doesn't mention cannot be removed by status removal effects. This has been changed to make it a buff, so basically it cannot be removed, and the Mystic Shroud does not prevent it. Meteor Swarm is going to act in a very similar way, and we'll see that in some future battles. Currently on the enemy agent's turn, he uses the Signpost, and he's going to follow it up with the Blackest Void. Then once we make it over to our agent, I do have the Neuropurge equipped, and that's because in part I do want to prevent counterattacks, especially when using the You're Not Worthy debuff. And yes, we're going to call it a debuff, even though it is in a green box now, and it cannot be removed. On my agent, I'm also trying out the brand new weapon, the Blind Justice. I do believe it has a lot of potential, especially when we're not attacking our own heroes. Then after Pestilence Beast uses the Masque of the Red Death, he's going to go with the Jekyll and Hyde, and take a Fatal Fist counter. So it looks like the Blind Justice did in part come through, but unfortunately we did miss because of Blinded. Next, we know that Skirn can be an absolute monster, especially if she can set herself up with a hammering blow and land this Stomp. Of course, this is a risky attack because of Disoriented, but it pays off. After a bang bang bang, Luke Cage is once again going to use You're Not Worthy, and one great thing about this is you can place Gracious AISO on it and restore stamina to your team every single round. In essence, there's no reason not to use it every time. Plus, since it is labeled a buff, you could use the Sympathetic AISO and you'd also gain back health every round. That's just something to think about as we hit Beast with the Ragnarok'em Sock'em. Or never mind, we actually hit our own agent. Next, I debated using the Light Fantastic, but instead I'm going to go with the Blind Justice on Beast. It actually is capable of quite a bit of damage in addition to its buffs. Which, by the way, if you don't know, is one for all. Attacks have a chance to cause allies to join in on single target attacks, and all for one. Allies have a chance to retaliate when an ally is hit by single target attacks. Then it also causes Blinded on the enemy as well. It really is a very nice weapon, and I do plan on using it in a poor man's PvP. Now this time with Null, I'm going to use his World Breaker ability, and that does place Meteor Swarm on the enemies. The amount is going to depend on how many Divine Hammer stacks that you have on Null. So in this case we had 3. The opponents are going to take that damage at the beginning of each of their turns, and there's really no way to get rid of it. Especially not now, and I'll show you what I mean in the very next match. As for this one, we are coming to the end because Skirn is up and she has her burst of speed. This means we can use Hammering Blow on Beast, and then a Stomp on Deadpool. That's going to be 251,000 damage, and it's going to win the match. So moving on to our second opponents, we are facing a Groot team, and that's going to give us somewhat of a challenge. After using our Speed Burst, we are going to attack him twice, but unfortunately we're using a Scrapper She-Hulk that's only going to enrage him. Still, we know her Stomp can do a lot of damage, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get him into cutting form. Well, we end up coming just short, but I do have her Special Store EISO, and we end up blocking one of his moves. Apparently it was his quick action though. So now on Luke Cage's turn, you can see Unworthy is in a green box. This is a great change because it won't be removed, and also it will bypass the Mystic Shroud. The only unfortunate thing is it will be protected against. As you see, Groot can step up and protect. But there it is, the Mystic Shroud and Unworthy both on Groot. So I have to say I'm loving that. Next I'm going to use Ragnarok'em Sock'em, and it does an okay amount of damage. It also does grant us a stack of Divine Hammer. Then next on the enemy Psylocke's turn, she actually gets blocked by She-Hulk. I'm telling you, lately that store-bought ISO is definitely getting its money's worth. Now at this point on my agent I do use the Blackest Void, but I wish I would have used the Hand of Apocalypse on Groot instead. After this fight, that's definitely something that I'll keep in mind. Then after the rapper, Heavy D uses his scroll, once again you're going to see She-Hulk interrupt. Oh, and now it just hit me why I also used the Blackest Void. I wanted to check something crazy and make sure that the enemies had Unworthy. So yes, Groot still has Unworthy, even though they were hit with the Blackest Void, and also their agent used the Scroll of Angalob. And now with Skirn we easily knock him into cutting form, and so let's go ahead and see what he does next. I believe he grants himself an extra turn, and then he's also going to use another one of his abilities. So he is back up to 31k. Now Psylocke's going to step up and protect. But Worldbreaker cannot be protected against, so we're going to place Meteor Swarm on all the enemies. Take that, baby Groot. Luckily there's nothing the opponents can do about that one. Then of course the enemy Psylocke takes her Meteor Swarm damage, and she's going to use Mental Coordination. My agent is now free to use the Neuro Purge, but if you do see an enemy Psylocke she's going to hit you with Psy Bolts. It's a pretty small price to pay. Then after that I'm going to use the Hand of Apocalypse, and we're going to target the enemy agent, that way we can hit Psylocke. Sadly we just fall short of finishing her off. But hey, on She-Hulk's turn we once again object, and so the agent cannot even act. Then with a burst of speed we can Hammering Blow Psylocke, and then easily stomp the agent into oblivion. As for Groot, well, he's going to die to his debuffs. So that's how this second match is going to end. At this point you may be wondering, can we even take more of this amazing worthy action? Well, I hope so, because there's still 3 more matches. That's right, this video is going to be action-packed, and the final 2 matches are absolute beatdowns. But first, I wanted to show you a team up that had us on the ropes. Right off the bat, She-Hulk is almost taken down. She only has 10k, and we're only getting our first turn. And fantastic, the enemy has the Mystic Shroud, so we're going to have to use the Blackest Void. Then they're going to hit us with the Mystic, but we do have the Shroud ourselves. Then with Luke Cage we're going to use You're Not Worthy, followed by Ragnarok'em Sock'em on Quicksilver. Since he's a scrapper we might as well enrage Luke Cage. Next we get a preemptive counter with Fatal Fist, and that's before a Mental Coordination. If only we had her within Fatal Blow range. Then on She-Hulk's turn we can use Burst of Speed, followed by Hammering Blow, and I'm going to hit Quicksilver since he has no quickness stacks. Then we can knock him out with a Stomp. But I also do want you to notice that Meteor Swarm is also in a green box. So I thank you Playdom for that. But anyways, let's go ahead and knock him out. Now we don't have that threat, and we can use the Neuro Purge. We will take that tiny bit of Psy Bolts damage, and then after this, I think I'm going to use the Mystic on the enemy agent. Yeah, definitely the Mystic. This is going to place Obsolete Tech on him, and that way it'll lock out the cube. Then on Rain Man's turn, he's going to use the Raft Shank, and of course, that does very little damage to Luke Cage. As always, we start with his quick action, and then I'm going with his level 9 Worldbreaker. This, plus the upcoming Meteor Swarm, is going to take Psylocke down to 13k, and this time we do get a Fatal Fist proc, which will finish off the enemy Psylocke. Then Skirn Stomp places the agent within hand range, and that's going to take him out and win this match. Now moving on to 2 kind of rapid fire matches, you're going to see what this team is capable of when things just go right. Alright, so first things first, the enemy does have the Mystic Shroud, so I'm going to use the Blackest Void. Then the enemy Pepsi Can War Machine is up next, and so we do have to worry about his firepower. But you know what, She-Hulk has that covered. So after objecting, we're going to use Burst of Speed, and I'm sorry Deadpool, but those lead hacking skills won't work because we do have the Mystic Shroud. So here comes a Hammering Blow on the agent, and then we're going to try to Stomp the Sentry out of existence. Next with Null, we're going to place Unworthy on the enemies. There's another failed hacking attempt, but the other problem with Luke Cage's level 6 is it can be countered. Okay, so now the enemy Deadpool does counter once again, and then on his turn, She-Hulk is going to object. So, this leaves my agent to use the Neuro Purge and the hand on Deadpool. Even though this was slightly nerfed, it'll still do plenty of damage and finishes off the enemy. Now watch this ending. Iron Patriot is going to get hit with Fatal Fist, and that was for his quick action full overcharge. That didn't finish him, but on his actual attack, he gets preemptively hit once again, and that's going to be the end of this one. Then moving on to the final matchup, we get to start with You're Not Worthy, and I have to say this is one of my favorite starts. Next I'm going to use our level 2 on Beast, and that does almost 26k, so that's a very nice hit. Then I'm not sure what the enemy agent was going for, but they are interrupted. Otherwise they may have gone for the hot shot. And this allows us to use our burst of speed. Follow that up with a hammering blow, and then a stomp, and Red Hulk is gone just like that. After using our quick action neuropurge with my agent, I'm going to use the Hand of Apocalypse on Beast. So here goes nothing. It's going to end up being a 66,000 damage crit, and Pestilence Beast is knocked out. Now with only the enemy agent remaining, I'm going to use our level 9 and place 3 stacks of Meteor Swarm on them. That's going to be our initial damage, plus the 21k from the Meteor Swarm dots. At the beginning of the enemy agent's turn, it's going to knock them down to 32k, and they waste their turn by using a Blackest Void. Next up, I go for a hammering blow, even though I know we're probably going to hit our own team. So Skirn hits Null, but now we can use the Light Fantastic and get rid of it. This is going to leave Null, the Breaker of Worlds, to finish it off with his level 1 Fatal Fist. So there goes that fatal blow, and that's going to be the end of this video. I would like to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck and take care.